Get my shit together here. All right. Hi everyone, my name is Ryan, and I am going to tie for you today a little Elk Hair Caddis pattern, the realistic outdoors way. I was approached a little while ago by my friend Scott there to see if I'd tie some videos for him, and here we are. Anyway, today Elk Hair Caddis, pretty simple little pattern. One of my favorites, my favorite to tie for sure, and definitely one of my favorites to fish. We're going to start with, this is a size 10 standard dry fly hook from Togen's Fly Shop, good Canadian company. And we're going to use some, what I got in here, 18-aught black nano silk. If you haven't ever tied with nano silk before, I would suggest trying it out. It's a pretty awesome product. So anyway, we'll start our thread behind the eye. We're going to work it down to the bend, get rid of our tag end. And then the first material we'll tie in is our hackle, which is this is a Herbert Minor line from Whiting, medium ginger, I believe this one is. And then what I like to do, you can pull the barbs off by hand if you like. What I like to do is cut them off, and that leaves a little bit of something for your thread to hang on to. And I also like to, before I use a hackle, I like to go along and kind of splay them all out, all the little feather barbels out, just to see what you got, and then you can sort of straighten them out so you get them laying exactly how you want them. Well, once we've done that, I'm going to take that hackle and I'm going to put it on my side of the hook, just at the back end, and I'm going to put a few wraps in, leaving that stem in line with the hook. So we'll just put a few good securing wraps in there. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my thread about a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch in front of that hackle for when we start dubbing it, and I'll show you why in a second. So what we're going to use to dub it, this is a Wapsi product, super fine dry fly dubbing. This is Caddis green. Definitely a great color to be chucking on the water. So the way I like to dub when I'm dubbing a body, the way I like to do it is take just a small pinch, and I like to kind of pull it all apart. And I'll hold it in my left hand. And just wet your fingers just a little bit. You can use wax if you want. I prefer not to. And you just dub a nice fine noodle onto your thread. Try to keep it even. Now the reason I advanced my thread a little bit is when I start wrapping that, I'm going to actually wrap backwards first. And then it helps you not build up a big ball at the back. And then once you're there, you can start working forward. And I'm going to leave, or I'm going to finish my body about an 1/8 of an inch behind the eye for our wing. So then what you want to do is just build up a little tapered body. I'm going to have to add a little bit of dubbing here. So we'll just grab another small pinch and do the same thing. Build up a little taper, a little heavier in the front. One more little pinch ought to get us there. So now we'll leave our thread at the front of the body, and we'll grab our hackle, and just be careful when you first start wrapping them, just because sometimes the stems can be brittle. So what I like to do is I'll grab my hackle, wrap it over away from me, and I like to do one full wrap at the very back where the body ends, and then start wrapping forward. So we just use even wraps moving forward. Don't pull it so tight that it buries it into the body. You don't need to go that far, but tight enough that it's not going to be loose. So you can probably get 4 or 5 wraps out of that. And then we'll end it right at the front. Use a couple capturing wraps, like so. And then I like to do a couple, 3 or 4 real good tight turns just to hold it there. And I leave my thread underneath it. And I'll reach in with my scissors. And we'll snip that out. And we'll snip anything that's errant in there out as well. It's okay. Now you don't have to do this with a caddisfly. I find it looks better if you do. If you trim the top of the hackle off. So if you just take your scissors and kind of put them in line with the bend, the down bend of the eye, and just snip them off. And that'll leave sort of a ramp, if you will. Now, next for the wing, what we're going to use is some light bull. This is another Wapsi product, light bull body hair. Just a patch of this stuff. Now I've already gone ahead and I've trimmed my little clump of hair off, and I've cleaned all the little fines out of it and all the little underbody hair. The more you leave in, the more likely your fly is going to not stay on top as long, even with a float, until those little under hairs like to hold water. So I've put that little bit of hair in my hair stacker, and you go through it and get all the tips even. I like to go through it, just make sure you don't have any ones that are broken off in there. Not that it affects the fly at all, just my preference. You just don't see broken flat ends in there. So anyway, we're gonna grab our hair. I'm gonna lay it right on top of that fly, and I'm gonna line the tips up with the end of the hook, with the bend of the hook. And I'm gonna grab it with my other hand and hold it nice and tight. And I'm gonna take my thread and use a pinching wrap. If you're unfamiliar with that, I'm gonna run that thread into my fingers, over top of the hair, and still inside my fingers. So I'm actually holding onto the thread there. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go around the hair and not the hook. So I'm essentially going to make a loop around the hair, and then I'm going to go 3 or 4 times around it and the hook, and then pull. And what that does is helps keep that wing right on top. Next, what we'll do is I'm going to take that wing, the butts of that wing, and start kind of holding them back, and I'm going to run my thread through it 3 or 4 times, and that'll really help secure that wing down so it's not going to slide all over the place. And then we'll grab them all, and we'll just build a little thread dam just behind the eye underneath. That'll help that head pop up. And then we'll grab our whip finish tool. You can use a half hitch. You can, however you like to finish them. If you like to finish them with just a bit of UV and cure it, that's totally up to you. I prefer to do this. And on a dry fly, I prefer not to use head cement if I don't have to. By all means, do if you like to. But with this nano silk, it's so fine that I can do 2 whip finishes and feel pretty confident that that knot's not going to come undone, and I'm not building a whole bunch of bulk up either. So that's 2 whip finishes there. And we'll just snip our thread out, like so. Next, we're going to grab all those butts and get them all pointing forward the right way. Like so. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold them in my dominant hand, and I'm going to grab them with my non-dominant hand. And what I want to do is just kind of grab them so that my thumbnail, or my thumb, is just above the eye. And then I'm going to snip across it. Like so. You can see a bit of stray in there. That's an Elk Hair Caddis. Like I said, definitely one of my favorites to tie, and definitely to fish. For where I live, these things, they pop all year long, so they're a good productive pattern to have in your box. I tie them in all sorts of different colors, from greens and browns, cinnamon, even blue, which we call it a blueberry caddis, which might sound strange, but it actually works pretty good. And we'll tie them also for size-wise. I would probably tie this all the way down to a 20 and then up to an 8. That's about as big as I tie dry flies. But definitely you could probably tie them even in a 6 as well, depending on what time of year and where you are. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to ask. I'm always open to answer questions. I know Scott is as well. Until next time, thanks so much.